welcome to today's, I guess we'll call this a Lakeside chat with Jesse. I'm joined today by Julia Gavrilov, attorney at Morat, Hawk and Hamroff. Hey.
Nice job.
Didn't mess anything up.
No, you didn't.
Thanks for joining me, Julia.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me, Jesse.
No, especially on a Friday, afternoon, evening, I guess.
Friday afternoon, but there's no better way to end the week than with you.
Oh, well, I'm blushing, but I think my Zoom filter that makes me try to take 5 years off won't show me blushing, but thank you very much for that.
And gorgeous background behind you. I wish I was there. It doesn't compare to my stone wall, but.
Thank you. Thank you. No, I owe this all to Brooke. This was my 40th birthday getaway trip. This is Henry Lake, just outside of Highland Falls, Idaho, and
gorgeous.
Figure what a perfect backdrop to to chat with you.
Have a fireside chat with no fire.
I mean, if you give me a couple minutes, I could figure it out, but I don't know if I'll get my damage waiver back.
We'll create the fire.
Yep. Fair enough. But Julia, for those people who might not be familiar with yourself, do you mind just kind of introducing yourself and your career in equipment finance to date?
Absolutely. So some of you may know, my name is Julia Gavrilov, and I'm counsel at the law firm of Morat, Hawk and Hamroff. I concentrate my practice in both equipment leasing and finance, asset-based lending, and complex commercial litigation. And so I do both front end and back end on the leasing and financing transactions. I also chair the firm's Women's Initiative Program, and I serve as a member of our firm's Diversity and Inclusion Committee. I proudly serve on the research committee of the Equipment Leasing and Finance Foundation. And alongside you, Jesse, I serve on the Service Providers Business Council Steering Committee with the ELFA. And so what many don't know is that I'm actually a litigator by training. And my first exposure to the equipment finance industry was litigating loan and lease defaults on behalf of lenders and lessors. So I found it very interesting, but I didn't feel like you get fully really the entire picture when you're only focusing on the back end of transactions. And so I wanted to expand and diversify my skill set to really truly know and understand my client's business and the industry kind of at large from every angle. And so I found an opportunity and I expanded my skills to the front end. And now I was creating and improving the same documents that I was enforcing at the same time. And that's, as many attorneys in the industry know, that's not an opportunity that you really get very often. Right. So, and I find that litigators generally view contracts through a slightly different lens than purely transactional attorneys. We kind of have the added advantage of having seen how defaults have played out in court. And that's enabled me to kind of preemptively avoid pitfalls in documents that you would otherwise see happen and feel it better protects my client's interests. So that's a little bit of a background as to what I do.
Definitely like an inside scoop there into the whole process. It's like, my first job at OSG, they brought me on as a salesperson, but the first week they wanted me to go like run the printers. And I'm like, why? Like, what does this do? And they're like, well, if you understand the process, then it's easier for you to sell the process. And I'm kind of like,
absolutely.
Stubborn young kid. I'm like, no, it doesn't. And I'm like, yes, it does.
No, if between knowing the business side of it, knowing the legal side of it on defaults, knowing the bankruptcy side of it, you're just painting a clearer picture for yourself, for your clients, and you're able to be more resourceful. So that's a little bit of my background on how I was first introduced to the industry.
And how long have you been in equipment finance?
So really since I started practicing, because that was when the litigation aspect of it started, and that's already been, not to date myself or anything, but I mean, I don't have the 30 plus years of experience of some of the people that I work with, but I've been doing this for about 15 years.
always one of those tricky questions.
I know
You've
it
been here.
is.
Some people are like 30 years, and it's like you started when you were 10. You-
Well, yeah, I definitely can't say 30 years, but 15 years seems like it moved in a blink of an eye. But at the same time, it just does feel like I've been doing it for a while.
And I want to, I'm going to have you just kind of introduce your firm real quick, if you don't mind, and then I want to touch on some of those other topics that you just brought up before.
Sure thing, sure thing. So Moore Hawk and Hamroff, full service firm based in New York. We have offices in both New York City and Garden City, so New York based. Garden City, Long Island, that is for anybody that doesn't know. New York. We're about 83 attorneys and actually still remain one of the fastest growing and preeminent firms on Long Island, and actually just celebrated our own 40th anniversary of the firm last year. Yep. It's been a big year for 40. So the firm covers, I would say roughly like 21 different practice areas. And we serve a number of industries, of course, equipment leasing, financial institutions, vehicle leasing, startups and small businesses. We represent financial companies, banks, asset-based lenders, independent companies of pretty much all sizes and specialties, both in negotiating and documenting transactions and obviously litigating on their behalf as well. We work with all kinds of collateral as well, large and small ticket transactions, aircraft, marine, and do direct deals, portfolio sales, syndication, and capital markets. Our firm is led by our managing partner, the illustrious Mark Hamroff, who for the last 30 years or so has been a prominent figure in the equipment leasing and finance industry, as you may know, and within the ELFA. I've had the privilege of being mentored by him, and I work closely with him, as I have with our fellow friend, Bob Cohen, who is also a partner at the firm and also renowned in the leasing and finance industry as well.
And you guys have a national footprint?
National footprint, our client base covers everywhere in the country.
Okay. And I also want to thank your firm once again for helping Equipment Finance Cares through the 501c3 status. So I'm working with Rachel. I can't remember her last name, so I apologize, Rachel, for that.
Yes, that's
but,
okay.
It's very generous of your firm to assist in that process. So thank you again.
Any way we could help. We are very supportive of the cause. I know that you guys had a very successful event last week, which I was sorry to miss. And I hope to be able to attend in the future, but anything we can do to support such a wonderful cause that you guys are promoting.
Thank you very much for that. And so you mentioned before that you sit on a couple of these different committees. So let's talk on the DEI one, real quick. What are your thoughts in regards to that movement, especially over the last 12 to 18 months?
Well, that movement altogether is, I feel, something that, has been moving and been being promoted for some time. And not just in the last 12 to 18 months, but you're starting to see already now for like the last few years at a minimum, a lot of changes that are being made in the landscape, both on the legal side, on the corporate side, and actually I speak on a number of diversity and inclusion webinars and conferences, and actually we'll be speaking at the ELFA annual convention this coming October on diversity and inclusion, and how different regulations that are being implemented, changes that companies are making, mandates and benchmarks that they're trying to set now, because studies consistently show that there's an economic case for business diversity, and it's directly correlated with increased profitability. So sometimes you need to quantify things for businesses. And I think that within our industry as well, people are seeing and are making changes. They're making changes in council that they're looking out to hire as well. And feel like it has to go that direction in order for us to be able to see more changes. We've already seen a lot of progress be made, but nowhere near where we need to be.
And the reason I mentioned 12 to 18 months is, like you said, I mean, it's all, to me, like the whole women in leasing movement's been going on for quite a while. And it's like, okay, yeah, we need to be diverse. We need to do all this stuff, equity and inclusion. But I'm going to say up until the last 12 to 18 months is when you actually starting to see the pendulum start to shift a little bit. And, you know, that's one of the things that we're spotlighting when we're doing our panel discussions at these events. It's just not shoving it in someone's face. It's, hey, here's how you can go find that person.
Mm-hmm. And you know what the interesting thing is that you're highlighting in the last 12 to 18 months, when you've actually seen a lot of women leave the workforce in the last 12 to 18 months because of COVID, because of the pandemic, because of the extra strain that it's put on them. You know, a lot of people falsely think that working from home may make it easier, but it's made it that much harder. You're working all the time now, and you have you're a caretaker, kids are at home, you're a chef, you're a housekeeper, you're everything you are in addition to your full-time day job.
Yeah, no, I for some reason I guess I did not know that more women were leaving the workplace because of this. I mean, it makes sense.
Yeah, it's put a lot of strain. Both you see women in the legal profession and women in the workforce in general. I think McKinsey came out with a study last year that highlighted the statistics, both women and particularly on top of it, women of color. So it's the statistics are eye-opening.
Well, that's interesting. We got to figure out what we can do to re-engage those particular individuals and get them back.
Absolutely, or keep them actually from leaving. And you know, I've spoken about some of these things that companies can do, and I will be speaking about it actually also in October at the annual convention about what companies can do to be able to retain talent, to be able to help them advance women and you know, racial and ethnic backgrounds. So different measures that companies, law firms can take to help increase diversity and inclusion efforts.
No, that's a good point. You know, the flexibility of work schedules, being what is the key word, empathetic towards people's situations. Mm-hmm. Knowing, especially in your part of the country, you know, you have the investment that people have made in their brick and mortar locations. Mm-hmm. However, when people can do the job just as well at home and they don't have to have an hour plus commute each way.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, that's been interesting to see that shift in you know, how people work, where they work, the office setting change, the dynamics change between relationships between people. But I guess we're all creatures of adaptation, and you know, we adapted as quickly as we adapted. Who knows if we're doing this long enough, then it might be hard for us to go back completely to the way things were.
Yeah, and I've actually heard on the other side of things that when people finally go back to the office, they're like overwhelmed with with like the amount of noise and just they're just overwhelmed with everything. Where it's like, oh my God, I didn't realize how stressful that was being in that environment.
You know what? I've been just the opposite. Like I could hear a pin drop at home when my son's not home, of course. I could hear I obviously get so much done when I'm at home, but I couldn't wait to go back to the office. And I didn't want to do a hybrid schedule. I wanted to be there full time. I missed that connection with people, the camaraderie. I missed meeting people for client meetings in person. You know, there's something to be said about a physical interaction with somebody. I almost read, interestingly, recently that the pandemic has actually, and doing things virtually has been great for introverts, because it's been an opportunity for them to actually show themselves and not be intimidated by a physical interaction. So there's definitely been silver linings to all this.
Yeah, and that's interesting. You just have to have those introverts turn on that camera. That's all I have to do. Show
Yeah,
yourself.
yeah.
No,
Unless they're
but
in their
and
PJs.
right, right. That's fair. That's fair. I've learned my lesson the hard way there. Make sure you have your camera off when you enter a room.
Oh
Just
God.
hang it off. Just have it off. Just to anyone out there watching this, turn your camera off and then turn it back on when you get into the room.
Yeah, you're gonna have to tell me one day about what that was all about.
I'll leave it at that. But I was going to ask you, and until you hit your first like 3-hour traffic delay, and then you're just like, okay, why am I doing this?
I can't speak to that because I selfishly have a 12-minute commute door to door. So for me, it's not an issue, but I can only imagine if you're commuting an hour or whatever it is each way, how much of that time is lost. But at the same time, it's also that unwinding time.
Yeah, I don't know. When I lived in the Northeast for, I don't know what, 6 years, when I was commuting from the Bronx to Stanford or, wherever, it's like, get me out of here. I purposely moved to New Jersey to be closer to my work so I don't have to cross the George Washington Bridge every day.
Oh, I don't blame you. That GW bridges can be awful.
Awful.
And the Cross Bronx.
If I go back there now and I sit in traffic and I'm kind of like,
Yep, that's why I moved.
count to 10, count to 10. This will be over soon.
Yep, I don't blame you. You smart move.
So congratulations on the recent Monitor Top 40 under 40 designation.
Thank you. To you as well.
Thank you. I snuck in by a couple months, but people are like, when they saw it, they're like, dude, you're like approaching 50 with your gray hair. Come on. So I'm like,
baby face, Jesse. You got a baby face. And you are young.
You sort of. I feel old because I got in equipment finance in 2003. So we're almost around the similar, 2005. So I think you and I probably got in at the same time. Almost.
Right around the same time.
But so what did that mean to you, Julia, to achieve that designation?
Look, as you could probably, I think, speak to this as well, it was quite a humbling recognition. You're in the company of such accomplished people, and you still have your entire career ahead of you, and that there's so much still you want to accomplish, and you continue setting goals for yourself. So to be able to get that recognition at this stage in my career is truly an honor, let alone during a pandemic.
No, I can relate, but you haven't just received that designation. You also, I've seen a few others, if my memory serves me correctly, as well.
Yes, I last year, which was also during the heart of the pandemic, was humbled to receive the SFNet 40 under 40 award as well as the women in top women in commercial finance. So trust me, it's been like extremely flattering and humbling, and I'm truly honored. I certainly didn't expect it, but it does, not gonna lie, it does feel good.
No, yeah. I mean, when I got that email from, Rita saying everything, it's like, oh, that's great, because with this industry, the more you put into any of the associations and anything else, the more you get out of it. I mean, I think that's a recurring theme. But when someone nominates you, I think that when I was talking to a few people, I think there's like 5 different nominations. It's like, it kind of makes you feel, it's like, okay, must be doing something right.
Must be doing something right. Yeah. Right? It's rewarding enough as it is being able to contribute to the foundation, to contribute to the ELFA, and to write articles and to speak at conferences and webinars, and whatever I could do it's just been very rewarding for me. So I almost feel like selfish to then be recognized for whatever work you put in. Like it's been, again, humbling.
Keyword, humbling.
I keep saying that word because it truly is.
No, it makes, no, I mean, that's when people ask me, it's like, yeah, it's just humbling. So the ELFF, I didn't realize you were on the research committee. They get their first ever female. Nancy Pistorio will be the first ever female to run that foundation.
Yes, I know that. I think I was there when they had announced it, and I was very proud to see that. She's obviously very accomplished, and she's perfectly suited for it too.
I mean, when I guess ignorance, I didn't realize that, because I know that Valerie Jester ran, was a part of the ELFA, but that's a board of directors, I want to say.
Right.
And I think
Martha
was last year.
Right.
Chris Snow this year, but two totally separate entities.
Two related, but separate.
Separate but different, or similar but different.
Similar but different. Right.
But on that note, as far as like, where do you see women in their advancement, in equipment finance, as far as leading organizations, Julia?
So I'm so proud of the strides that women have made, and finally the recognition that they're getting in the industry for all the meaningful contributions that they've been making in the space for so long. And I've had the honor of attending the ELFA Women's Leadership Forum for the last few years, and seeing how the number of attendees exponentially grew each year, and not just at the Women's Leadership Forum, but the annual convention too for the last few years. And they set benchmarks for themselves of the number of the percentage of women that they want attended, and they met it, if not surpassed it. That's in and of itself, I think, very telling of the progress that is being made, both internally within their respective organizations and in the equipment finance industry at large. I mentioned earlier that I chair our firm's women's initiative. And that we provide women in our firm with insight, opportunities, and a platform to assist in their professional development and advancement, all the while trying to, working to eliminate gender bias, both within the legal profession and within the leasing industry. And I know I mentioned before that I speak on the diversity and inclusion topic at conferences and at webinars. So to be able to see these companies, furthering these efforts by placing women in these leadership roles, and you see it even who you named before, Martha Allers, Chris Snow, they are C-level executives at their organizations. They've all of these women, and all the women that you meet at these conferences now are so accomplished, and to be able to see more and more of them, and then the fact that these companies are paving the way and supporting and mentoring and sponsoring the advancement of all of them. I mean, look, a lot of progress has been made in the leasing and finance industry in this sense, and we're seeing more and more women rising in the ranks. I think there's still work to be done, but I think we're definitely well on our way.
That's good. I mean, I think of like a Lori Bakke, like I mentioned Valerie Jester earlier. You have Nancy Pistorio. I mean, these are all ladies who have been running their organizations for several years. Right. And, they didn't need any acknowledgement whatsoever, but you look at 30 years, some of these things, and it's like they have great organizations, and it's fantastic. And
supportive. You can't only do it without the support of your peers and your mentors and your sponsors and your organization. So just being able to educate the companies that still have yet to further their efforts in all of this will certainly help.
I agree 100%. So I'm going to switch this up a little bit here. I ask everyone who comes on here to tell a little fun fact about themselves. If you don't mind sharing.
Fun fact. I can tell you 2 fun facts. I can tell you about, we've talked about the stuff that I can do. We never talk about the stuff we can't do. I'm made fun of
Fair.
for not, I can't ride a bike. Yeah, that's the same reaction every time. That's why it's a fun fact. Well,
now let me just now hold on one second here. So like just not comfortable riding a bike, or
no, I don't know at all.
Okay.
I've tried.
Okay.
I've had people try to teach me, and we've been unsuccessful.
Well, that's where you got to get a Peloton like I got. Then you just get comfortable in the saddle.
Bike. We were talking mobile mobile vehicle. No, stationary bikes are not a problem. Thankfully, we would have another problem if it was.
Sorry.
So I can't ride a bike. I can't swim in the deep, which is just a painful one to swallow. And I don't know how to whistle.
So a triathlon, you are out.
Every time I watch them, I always think I would just completely fail. Like, look at all they can do that I can't, except for running.
Listen, I'll jog and then I'm going home.
That's what I'm saying. True. Well, look, and maybe one more little tidbit. I had such a good streak of attending the US Open since 2003. And I didn't miss a year until I had to miss a year because of the pandemic. But I'm a huge tennis fan, and being a born and bred New Yorker, it's kind of the thing to do, and the place. It's one of the highlights of my summers every year. At the end of the summer, to be able to, I could spend every day for all 2 weeks there if I could, all day.
Those are definitely fun. Interesting, but definitely fun. And you also are fluent in Russian?
I am. I
saw that on your LinkedIn profile, so I cheated a little bit. But,
that's okay.
Yeah.
So I do speak Russian. I'm first generation. I was born in New York, but my parents were pregnant with me when they immigrated.
Okay.
In all disclosure, I do have a 2nd grade reading level in Russian, so we try not to focus on that.
It's like Spanish for me. I had 10 years worth of Spanish instruction. My ex-wife, spoke Spanish. No. Nope.
At least that's English letters. Reading a Cyrillic alphabet. I took first year Russian in college to learn how to read and write, and realized as an outsider, even though I know how to speak, how hard of a language it actually is. So I do speak, yes.
So Brooke decided to get a cat about, I want to say 3 months ago, like a kitten, and she got it from Russia. So this thing flew over. And we're sitting there trying to talk to it, right? And nah.
You know what? I'm pretty sure that cats speak all languages.
I have, it speaks food here.
Exactly.
But anyhow, it just, the looks it gives me is just kind of entertaining. But regardless, I don't know where that fit into this story. But anyhow, I'll show.
That was the Russian tie that you have.
That was I'm like, I can get that in there. Yeah, no, sorry, but. So Julia, of all the different law firms out there, why choose your firm?
Why choose my firm? Well, I can tell you why I would choose my firm versus why a client should choose the firm, and they're actually both the same answer. Okay. Look, I'm not only surrounded by talented and accomplished people in a variety of practices, just even in addition to, how much we've done and my firm has done within the equipment leasing and finance space, but within other disciplines and practice areas as well. But what I think makes us stand out from other firms is I love the collaborative environment that we have within each department, across disciplines within the firm, and with clients. Our motto is strength and partnership. And it rings so true. It's been the guiding force in how we approach relationships amongst each other, how we work together, how we work with clients, and that care and that being a trusted advisor in that way, not just someone with legal expertise, but really trusted, I think makes us really stand apart from others.
No, just in my time, I mean, I've obviously known Bob forever. You and I've gotten to know each other the last couple of years, but just in working with your firm, I can definitely see that.
Yeah, it's definitely been one of the best experiences of my life, and I'm looking forward to continuing working with them and all the collaboration that we do.
No, well, and I'm excited to see where things go from here. So.
Me too, for you as well.
We got time.
We're on this ride together, Jesse.
Yeah, exactly. And since it is a Friday afternoon, for those people who might be judging me, us, whatever,
or us.
Cheers.
Cheers. Thanks for having me.
Cheers. No problem. I really appreciate your time and look forward to seeing you in San Antonio.
I'm looking forward to it as well. Thanks so much, Jesse. It's been an honor to be here.
Thank you, Julia. Have a good one.
You too. Thanks.